What's up? Ghost Fictions is here, and we're back again. This is a story where Issei was broken. Pain and sufferings. This is all what Issei felt and accepted just for others' sake. What happens when his friends ignored his feelings? What will happen when Issei decided to just endure the pain? What happens when he uses his powers just to protect his loved ones? His feelings is not something to play with. But before we start, please consider subscribe to the channel and give this video a like. Don't forget to check the description for more informations. Now, let's get into the story. Normal Pav. Boo. But you, where are you going? When Issei asked, Ria stops and mutters without turning around to Issei. Ice, will you protect me? Of course, I will protect Butchu. And Asia. Yes, I will also protect Asia. And Akeno. Akeno-san. That is obvious. But, what happened, suddenly asking me such a thing? Issei didn't get Ria's intention at all. Ria's asks in a lower tone. Hey Ice. Why yes. Do you, what am I? Who am I? To me Butchu is Butchu and. The moment Issei said that. Idiot. Ria's yells at Issei with a mixed sound of her crying. The now crying Ria's rushes away from her spot and left the clubroom. Issei was shocked with Ria's reaction. This made Issei feel sad and uneasy. Ria's on Osama. Asia goes after Ria's. Asia turns to Issei after she reaches the door. With her eyes that are soaked with tears. Ai-san. You are horrible. It's too much. Why can't you understand one Isama's feelings? Issei gasped with a slight of confusion after being yelled by Asia with the sentence, you are horrible cycling in his mind. Saying that, Asia goes after Ria's without even bothering Issei's situation. Crackk. Having Asia to say that, Issei stood there dumbfounded and feeling a weird crackling in his chest. The sound of crackling in his chest was heard by Issei, but never reaches the ORC group in the clubroom. Wait a second. What's the meaning of this? Why is Butchu and Asia mad at me? Thought Issei confusingly. That wasn't right, Ice-kun. Issei turned to look at the blonde knight who stood beside the ORC club members. Tiba places his finger on his forehead, then sighed. Then not right as in what? That, precisely. Geez, you are so. I can understand very well what the girls are going through. Kiba said as he lowered his head while his eyes closed. Avoiding eye contact from the ShineiHyoudou. Exactly. It's natural for Ria's and Asia-chan to get mad. Saying that, Akeno steps forward to Issei with a stern look written on her face. Crack. Akeno-san also sounded mad. Even. Akeno-san. Thought Issei while the second sound of crackling in his chest happened again. Even I, who is dense at these sorts of things, thought you were a bit off, Ice. Zenovia looks at Issei with her eyes half closed, making Issei lower his head only to be looking at the floor. Moo. Ice-kun, sure is a no-no. Poor Ria-san. Even Arena was mad. You're the worst. Kaneko said to Issei in the coldest manner. Crackk, crock. The crackling feeling in his chest began to eat up Issei after the word, you are the worst repeats in his head. Issei then lifts his head up to be looking at his cross-dressing cowhide, Gasper. Then asked. Hey Gasper. Am I really bad here? Gasper then says to Issei in an apologetic manner while twitching his body. Yes, I think you are very bad. Issei, who was shocked by his cowhide's words, as the words that Gasper said to Issei began to cycle in Issei's head. He then looked at the ORC group one by one. Only to be looking at angry stares, pointing right to Issei. After looking at the stern stares of the group, Issei fell to his knees. Well, the peerage doesn't even bother Issei, who just felt like he was just been shot. Why? Issei mutters slowly only enough for himself to hear. Crack crock. Then Ravel asks while panicking. This is my mother and my fault, right? I'm sorry. How's this Ravel's fault? Thought Issei. Akeno-san walks to Ravel who was beside Issei and places her hand on Ravel's left shoulder. Ravel-chan doesn't have to worry about it. Ice-kun's the most at fault here because he never tried to think about the crucial thing between Ria's and himself until now. After hearing that, the word fault cycles in Issei's mind. Along with the word fault, a dark black feather fly crossed through his head. Akeno-san cheers her up like that, not even to bother Issei who was kneeling on the floor. Lifeless, and she started to prepare for tea after urging Ravel to sit on the sofa. The group did so and sat on the sofas in the clubroom, not even to care about Issei. Unable to withstand the tense atmosphere in the clubroom, Issei stands up and walks to the door and left. Until, he stops walking only to be standing halfway from the clubroom entrance and the old school building exit. Issei thought deep about what just happened a while ago. How can they be so mean to him? He tried to understand on what happened between him and Ria's. He never expected this to happen. He then mutters. My fault. Crock crack. Deep in Issei's mind, in a field of flames, a certain red dragon just woke up from its slumber because of something disturbing in its host's head. It can't be. It said. Issei clenched his chest in pain, not knowing the cause of it. He still ignores the strange feeling and repeatedly mutters. My fault. Is it my fault? Suddenly, a flash in Issei's mind, a long-forgotten fallen angel appears in his head. She was smiling at Issei in his mind. The form slowly changes from what it looks like an innocent schoolgirl to a sadistic demon wearing a leather clothing. It was worth to toy a boy who was never known a girl, she said while smiling like an innocent girl, but still keeping its devilish looks. And no, muttered Issei with his voice shaking in fear. I just looked the least bit troubled and immediately you became concerned about me. And no. But the whole thing was just for show to make you act like that. And no. So, can you do me a favor? Would you die for me? Saying that, the entity known as Youm, or better known as Rainer, reveals her black wings and says that in an evil manner. Crack crock crack. Issei coughed out blood before falling on the floor, making loud thud to be heard. His vision begins to blur. Before passing out, he sees a black feather in his head, making him to remember the incident that night. 6 months ago. With Drag. Within the field of flames, the red dragon lies there, watching a vision of its current host in the club room a while ago. Partner. The dragon said with a feeling like it's about to tear out. Hold on. Line break. Would you die for me? Issei wakes up from a deep slumber after a short nightmare and groans while stretching his arms. He then looked around, wondering where is he. He is in a hospital room. His right arm is attached with a wire that leads to a modern ECG machine at the right side of his bed. There is a large flat television in front of the bed and a small table just beside the bed with a flower vase and a bottle of water on it. Issei then look out at the window. He is in the underworld hospital because of the color of the sky he is gazing at. His chest is wrapped with bandages like it is covering his heart. Issei put his hand on the bandages, then he groaned in pain after doing. He starts to remember on happened before he passed out. You're horrible. An image of Asia appeared in Issei's mind. Along with other images that assaulted Issei that day. You're the worst. I think you are very bad. It's Issei's fault here. Why? Issei muttered coldly. When Issei remembered the verbal assaults that he received from his friends, his eyes began to tear out a bit. Issei wondered why did they turn their backs on him. Issei was always there to give them courage to overcome their sufferings. Since he became a devil and joined Ria's peerage, he always saw the pain and sufferings of his friends and comforted them to become stronger and braver. Issei wiped off his tears and laid there while gazing the sky through the window. Suddenly, the door room opens and a man with yellow bangs comes in. So you're awake? Issei tilts his head to the direction where the voice came from. It was Azazel, his sensei. Azazel sensei, why am I here? You were rushed to the underworld hospital by your friends after your heart imploded in the old school building, Azazel said while walking towards Issei's spot. Azazel then took a seat beside Issei and continued. While noticing the stains on his cheek, he knows what is going on with him just by looking his dim aura, but just kept quiet about it. Though, it's a mystery that your heart imploded without any reason, and while the doctors are doing your medical procedure, your heart somehow can't be healed by phoenix tears and other magical healing, so they asked help from human reincarnated devils who are former human world doctors to do surgery on you. Azazel while putting his hand under his chin like always. But rest assured, your heart is in good state, but you will have to stay in the hospital for 2 weeks under doctor's care, and don't worry about your parents. I have a familiar disguise as you in the human world hospital and about your absence at school. Sona has it under control, Azazel said it with a cool tone. Issei looks down to his wrapped chest, seeing that it's beating normally. Azazel sensei, how long I have been here? Asked Issei. Well, you were unconscious for 2 weeks and today is the rating game between Riaz and ShineiHyoudou Bale. Azazel said while turning on the television with the remote. Issei widened his eyes, but didn't even to care about the match and his friends who was in the match without him. Issei didn't care at all about his comrades because of what they have done to him that asks. Ooh, you don't seem to get shocked, so what exactly happened between you and Riaz after you passed out that day? None of your business, Azazel sensei. Okay fine then, but I will ask you again if you're ready to talk about it, Azazel said with a smirk. On the television screen is the live match between Ria's peerage and ShineiHyoudo's was the middle of the match, and Ria's peerage is left with a queen, a bishop who was Asia and a knight who was Kiba, without any pawns, while ShineiHyoudou was only left. Line break. In the match location, ShineiHyoudou comes out on his own and proposes to Riaz so they can finish the match quickly. The proposal was that ShineiHyoudou will fight Riaz in her remaining peerage, while ShineiHyoudou will not come up with a strategy to defeat that he will take down Ria's peerage without ease. With that, Riaz accepted the proposal and with her peerage, they came face to face with ShineiHyoudou in the battlefield. Ria's Gremory, my cousin, before this fight between us begins, answer me this, where is the ShineiHyoudou? Asks ShineiHyoudou with eyes of determination. Ria gathers her demonic aura around her and keeps quiet, not wanting to answer her cousin's question. If Issei was here. Akeno, who was in her Maiko outfit, muttered while staring at ShineiHyoudou with her stern look. So keeping the truth behind Ria, so be it, now, come to me with all that you got. ShineiHyoudou said as weird marks form on all 4 of his limbs. Ria steps forward while aims her hand at ShineiHyoudou before bursting out her power of destruction, while Akeno and Kiba attacked as well. Akeno summoned billion volts of lightning, while Kiba has stabbed the ground and casted sword birth at ShineiHyoudou's spot. All of the attacks hit straightly at ShineiHyoudou. Did we won? Asked Kiba, still holding to his sword that was planted to the ground. As remnants of dust just started to clear of ShineiHyoudou's spot, a large explosion bursted out with a blinding white light, shattering the ground and Kiba's sword birth. ShineiHyoudou's body is engulfed with white light. It was Tauki. I'm afraid you did not won this fight, Knight of Gremory, or perhaps all of you did not, said ShineiHyoudou with a smirk. You better make it up for Ria's butchu, Issei, she loses her concentration because of your actions that day. Kiba mutters, and no saying to anyone in particularly. Saying that, ShineiHyoudou rushed to Ria's spot with insane speed and hitting her with a punch, instantly retiring the king, and also claims victory. Line break. After watching the match, Issei turns off the television and glances down, thinking what will the group says to him, then turned at the exit door to look at Azazel, who has a magic circle beside his right ear, speaking to somebody. After Azazel finished speaking, the magic circle beside his ear disappeared, then looks at Issei. I'm sorry, Issei, I wish that we could talk and I could accompany you, but Shimhaza just called me because of a serious matter, and you will also tell me what got you depressed this much. Well, see you later. Azazel then waved at Issei before exiting the room. Take care, Azazel-sensei, said Issei and gave a small smile to Azazel. Azazel exits the room, then teleported himself to Shimhaza. Issei is now all alone in the room. Changing back to his cold expression, then lays down on the bed and pulls up the blanket. Would you die for me? A black angel appeared in Issei's mind and made Issei's wounded chest tingly. Partner, what made you like this? I couldn't enter your thoughts because you're in a deep depression. Is it because of what happened in the club room that day, or is it Rainer? Asked Drake to his current host while Issei's back palm glowing a green circle, meaning Drake is talking to Issei in the real world. Forget about it, Drake, it's none of your business or anybody's business. By the way, Drake, you could talk to me in my head, but why do you want to talk to me this way? Asked Issei while looking at his back palm. It's because I couldn't enter your thoughts like I said just now. That makes sense. Well, I'm going to sleep, partner, since healing and restoring life force to you after you passed out that day, and actually, the surgery was not enough to save your heart, so I gave my energy and life force to you so you could survive. So, I need rest if you're fine by that. It's okay, Drake, you've done more than enough for me. I couldn't know how to thank a heavenly being like you. A 3 days sleep is good for me. Well, good day, partner. The day, friend. Oh, Drake, by the way, can I talk? Snore. Imagine how your parents snore at 3 p.m. Issei chuckled a bit, then returns to his cold expression. Looking at the window, a familiar fallen angel appeared in his head. Would you die for me? Line break. With Azazel in his apartment. Azazel, who has a magic circle at the side of his left ear, is displaying an idiotic expression that he rarely shows during his whole lifetime. Hey, are you really serious about this, Vali? Azazel asks. Vali has sent a private channel to Azazel earlier. Yeah. It's a she now, I guess. She is wishing for this. I'm also interested in this, so I want it to happen. It's you that we're talking about. That's not the only reason, right? You're sharp as always. That is also the reason why you are getting alienated from other factions. Just by hearing his voice I can tell this guy is smirking. Azazel thought. It's none of your business. I heard that because you are going around being involved in things which isn't any of your business. There are those that are thinking that perhaps this guy is plotting something correct. Well, this is my nature. If someone was to attack me from the back, then I will accept it. Azazel sighed. There are those who are after her. Vali mutters. Of course there are. That is obvious. And there are immeasurable number of those at that. But everyone is having a bitter time because no one can eliminate her. That may be true, but it seems like there will be those in our organization who are hoping the same thing. No, it's about time they will make their move. Are you trying to lure him out? I'm just going to make it clear whether he is my enemy or not. Vali then continued. Well, he's most likely an enemy. It's time to settle this. Anyway, what's Issei's condition in the hospital right now? Caring deeply for your rival, I see. Well, like you're gonna kill him cowardly. He is just fine, but he will be detained in the hospital for 2 weeks, and his heart will be in medical procedure over time. Else that. Issei is depressed, but I don't know what's the main cause of it. This is what I expected. She told me that the Hyoudou Issei's aura signature is not fully dragon but a mix of a fallen angel. So, she can also sense dragon's aura signature but why Issei's aura signature has a fallen angel's aura in it? I do not know, that is why she wants to meet Hyoudou Issei, but I'll send one of my members from my team to escort her. But don't worry, I am sure the escort's presence will help Hyoudou Issei's problems. So that's the other reason well then, we're gonna have a hard discussion with the Mayus in the underworld, with this Azazil side a bit. He then continued. But I'm sure that they will grant her request, since your team helped a lot during the fight Loki and your team's good behavior while staying at Issei's residence. Azazel chuckled, remembering the funny and awkward moments when the volley team was staying at Issei's residence. I see, well let's go, we have a request from a dragon god to grant. Line break. Issei's room in the underworld hospital. This feeling. I felt a similar thing 6 months ago. Issei thought as he laid on the bed, not doing anything since he was detained in the hospital for 5 days. But this one thing is bothering him while he laid on the bed. It was the feeling of loneliness. The feeling of loneliness that bothers him was intense. It was the same feeling of loneliness that he felt in the park 6 months ago. Getting killed by your first girlfriend, being near to death's door, it was too much for Issei. While others may think Issei was just fine after the incident, Issei masked his true feelings and trauma from his comrades by using his pervertness to make people think that he was fine, but the truth is, he is not. Not even Drake, who's living in Issei's mind and soul, can tell how much sufferings that he had gone through without his friends knowing it. Then, a flash came through his head. Would you die for me? Remembering that, Issei just pulls up the blanket to his face and just stares the window while looking at the rainy weather. The rainy weather was not heavy nor light, the amount of rain was just right, and this brings calm feeling and rests Issei's weakened soul, like the rain was an angel's lap and Issei's soul was resting on it. Partner, you there? Drake asks in the real world. Right here Drake, still alive. Issei said lazily. You know that I'm still unable to enter your thoughts because of your depression. What got you like this partner? What is bothering you? Partner. I can't help you to get over your fears if you stay like this, just please tell me what's bothering you. You don't need to drag, I'm already helping myself. Issei said with a mix of annoyance and sadness. Then the door room opened and a certain Mayu came in. Boy, a live conversation between partners seems lively enough. It was Surziches and Grafia. Surziches walked to Issei's bed smiling. Good afternoon Surziches-sama, Grafia-san, you two look elegant together, Issei said, while changing his expression to the usual Issei. He changed his mask Drake thought as he noticed Issei changes his personality quickly. Thanks Ice-kun, and I don't mind you calling me bro, now call me that Ice-kun. Call me Ani-chan. Slap. Surzich's head was smacked with Grafia's Harrison. Surziches-sama. You are going over the top in a place like this even you just came in. You might make Ai-san here got a second heart attack. One day, he might call you like that. Why you are right. Maybe rushing is the bad part of the males in Gremory. Cough. Surziches took a seat beside the bed. Issei just sweat dropped and made a bitter smile at the scene. What should I do with this comedy duo Issei thought. When he mentioned comedy duo, he got a flash in his head, it was Kaneko in his mind. You're the worst. Kaneko frowned. But in the same time, you are the best hero and my lover. Kaneko smiled while hugging Issei in his mind. Kaneko-chan. Issei thought. Then he heard someone was calling him. Ice-kun, Surziches asked. While looking Issei who was in the other world. Pardon me Surziches-sama. I heard that Butchu lost the match with Sererg. I am sorry for not participating in the match for Butchu's sake, Issei said while bowing his head to Surziches. There's no need for apologizing Ice-kun, since you had a strong reason for it. Surziches then continued. You helped a lot for the Devils and even other factions, how can I be mad at you just because you didn't participate in Ria's match? You have worked a lot, I thank you for what you have contributed to the world. I and other faction leaders are in your debt. Surziches said with a smile. Anyway, Surziches-sama, what's your main purpose on meeting me? That's unlikely for him to being sharp Grafia thought while raising her eyebrows. I came here to visit my brother-in-law, sorry for not visiting you earlier, as a Mayu, I got so many work to do. So, when I had the free time, I came to visit you. Surziches then continued. I also brought something along. It's from your fans. Surziches said smiling. Surziches then flicked his finger. A magic circle appeared on Issei's lap and a box filled with letters appeared on Issei's lap. From my fans? Issei asked then opened the box. It was fan letters written in poor devil letters from the children of the underworld. On each of it was poor drawings of Issei in his balance breaker mode. Surziches opened his mouth. These children? are the future of the underworld. That's why I want a favor from you. Then Issei's mind flash. Would you die for me? Issei lowered his head but then continued to hear Surzich's. Ice-kun. When you will be fighting for your dream, even a tiny bit is okay, but can you please fight for these children as well? I know it's a selfish wish. Even so, I ask you. I want you to protect the dreams of these children. I know that very well. I'm the up-eyed dragon after all, Issei said while his hands was shaking with happiness holding the letters. Issei then continued. So, I will be fighting while carrying the dreams of many people, it's an honor Surzich's sama. As the current ShineiHyoudou, as the devil of Gremory, as the carrier of people's dreams. I will keep your promise Surzich's sama. Issei said with a smile. Would you die for me? Thank you so much, Ice-kun. If there's anything I can do to repay you. Surzich's said. There's nothing much I wanted to ask from you Surzich's sama. But, is everyone in the ORC is fine? They look beaten up. Issei asked. Their condition is fine, they only need to be detained in the hospital that was prepared for raiding game participants for a few days. I'm sure when they are already healed, they'll go visit you. Surzich's smiled. I see, Issei responded. By the way, Issei. Surzich's said, making Issei raised an eyebrow. Azazel told me that you are depressed lately, what got you into that? Surzich's asked. When Surzich's said that, there was a moment of silence. Issei opened his mouth. I can't tell you that. Surzich's sama. Issei said, changing his normal expression to a cold one. If that's the case then I will not force you, but if you are ready to tell me about it, then don't be hesitate to do so. Surzich's then continued. I hope one day that every one of your friends Ice-kun will see past your mask, Surzich's said with full of hope in his words. Did Azazel-sensei also told you on what happened between me and Rias? Issei asked. Of course he did, but in this case, I will not blend in with your matters between you and your friends and Rias. I think I will only make things look worse if I were to blend in the situation. Thank you for understanding. Surzich's sama, I will handle it on my own. Issei gave a small smile to Surzich's. Then, a magic circle appeared beside Surzich's left ear. Surzich's lifted his seat to be standing beside the door, having a conversation. Are you serious? Azazel Surzich's asked with a serious tone. Fine then. I'll be on my way. Saying that, Surzich's dismissed the call and walked to Issei's spot. I'll have to go, Ice-kun, I have been called to deal with something. I hope that we could talk about your trainer that you used the other day you went to Kyoto, but it seems that time doesn't allow us to, Surzich's said with a smile. Okay, Surzich's sama. Thank you for visiting me, I hope myself didn't become a burden for you. Issei made a small smile to Surzich's. It's nothing, Ice-kun. Saying that, Surzich's summoned a magic circle on his palms. A bento box appeared on his left palm, while 3 red balloons strapped with strings appeared on his right palm. I hope you will get better, Ice-kun. This bento here has already been given permission from the doctors for you to eat it. Surzich's said, placing the bento box on the table beside Issei and strapped the balloons to the hospital bed. Issei made a smile and opened his mouth. Thank you for the bento and the balloons, even if I'm too old for the balloons, Issei giggled. Me and Grafia will take our leave now, get better, Ice-kun. Saying that, Surzich's and Grafia walked to the exit door. Before Surzich's left, he turned his head to look at Issei. Again, Ice-kun, I know what are you seeking, and I hope that your friends and Rias will see past your mask. When that time comes, I will do anything to help you get through with that. Surzich's then left the room with Grafia while raising his hands. See past my mask, Issei mutters. Surzich's Lucifer is saying the truth, partner. I am also wondering why would you conceal your true feelings. Issei then replied with a cold expression. So I wouldn't taste the same thing that happened to me 6 months ago. Saying that, Drake became silent, wondering what can he do. Until something came to him. What do you want to do? Sending a private message to me, Fafnir. Line break. In Issei's room of the Underworld Hospital. Afternoon. So I wouldn't taste the same thing that happened to me 6 months ago. The next day, Issei was doing his normal activities. Which was laying on the bed while gazing through the window. It was raining heavily, but to Issei, the rain brought calm feeling to him. During the whole week, instead of just laying down, Issei did go for a walk outside 4 times, but with the supervision of the doctors and nurses, because Issei's heart is still fragile physically, but only known to a few people, Issei's heart is also fragile mentally. And why the hospital in the underworld is similar to the human world's hospital. Most of the popularity of reincarnated devils are humans, so the mass of the underworld made a similar system of medical needs for the former humans. They even made the doctors, nurses and staffs in the underworld hospital wore the same attires and uniforms that the human doctors, nurses and staffs wore, expect the nurses to be sexier. For Issei, it really is a weird sight. Issei is currently laying on the bed while he had a pair of earphones to his ears, listening to a rock music down with Fallen, with an iPod that had the songs that he requested, which he got by requesting from Surziches earlier. Surziches was really surprised that Issei didn't ask for porn mags or any kind of shits related to that. But Surziches easily got it for Issei, since the Devils owns a large number of companies in the human world. While gazing to the sky, Issei was just thinking, will his friends come visit him? This made Issei a bit upset because of the issue. But, will he able to confront them? After he made Rias upset, after he made them mad, and after he left his responsibility as a pawn. To Issei, it half matters. He just wants the friendship with his friends goes on, and in the same time, he doesn't want to see them. Issei just laid there, scrolling down the playlist in the iPod, then played the song Angels Fall, while waiting for his next medical procedure at 3 p.m. Issei got this feeling that he really needs to express his feelings symbolically, but not to anyone, and the way to do it is with a nice rock songs from bands like Starset, 3 Days Grace, 1000 Foot Crutch, Skillet and many more. During the whole week that he spent in the hospital, he spent his time thinking on the bed, what I want to become. What is my true potential as a devil? Do I really want to be a pervert? Am I a worthy servant to Butchu? All of these questions that came through his mind, he has already made a decision on it. Which is, stop being an open pervert. Would you die for me? A few minutes later, the door of the room opened. Issei didn't look as he thought it was just the doctor who came to check up on him. But he was wrong. Yo, how you're doing, Ice? It was Azazel. Oh, Azazel-sensei. Good afternoon. Issei greeted with a small smile after pulling off the earphones from his ears. Azazel walks to Issei, then took a seat on a chair beside Issei. So, how's your condition going, Ice? Able to hold yourself from 2 weeks of not masturbating and being with the girls, Azazel said with a smirk. Very funny, Azazel-sensei. Issei replied with a smile. I heard that you went through medical procedures. How's it feels like having medicines like Drake does? Azazel said with a chuckling smirk. Yeah, I think I'm gonna be alright. Drake still needs to have his medicines because of his heart disease, because I have been powering up with breast-related things lately. Even the Op-Eye Dragon Tokusatsu program has been terrifying him. Then Issei's back palm glows emerald. I start to relax after consuming a heavenly dragon, who was sealed in a sacred gear, becoming the mid-tier Longinus, needs medicine. What would Albion think if he finds out? Drake then continued. Kukuku. Medication for 10,000 years. Kukuku. Azazel then started to laugh out. To Azazel, a dragon was sealed in a sacred gear is super rare, but a sealed dragon who needs mental medication is extremely rare. You are really making Drake cry that much, huh, Ice? Azazel said while wiping out his tears and still laughs a bit. Sensei, stop it, Drake is having a really hard time here. Azazel opened his mouth and was going to talk, but was interrupted when the door opened. Hello. Hyoudou, Azazel-sensei is here too. It was Saji with his school uniform holding a plastic bag filled with stuff in it. Saji. Came here to visit me. Issei asked while Saji took a seat from a desk, then took a seat while placing the plastic bag on the bed next to Issei's blanketed leg. What does it look like? Of course I am. Saji then continued. So, are you going well, Hyoudou? Issei was just going to open his mouth until. Not exactly, Saji, you see. Issei here has been having the same drugs as Drake Azazel said with a smirk. Azazel-sensei, don't. Issei narrowed his eyes in annoyance with his mouth changing to a triangular shape. What do you mean, Azazel-sensei? What kind of drugs? Saji asked with his eyes blinked in confusion. Azazel then moved closer to Saji. Well, you see. Azazel whispers to Saji about Issei troubling Drake. Issei just face-palmed, not able to do anything to stop them because of his condition, then moved his left palm away from him, knowing what will happen next. After Azazel finished telling Saji about that, Saji chuckled a bit while placing his palms on his forehead. Then sighed. Hyoudou, you really are making the heavenly dragon upset, huh? Saji said with a smile. Uwaya. Now Vritra and Fafnir have already known this. Medic. Both Azazel and Saji were surprised at the sudden cries. Saji stumbled back with his chair, causing him to smack his head first on the floor, while Azazel had his ears closed with his wings, making a surprised idiotic expression. Hold on, Drake. Issei quickly made his boosted gear appeared, then grabbed a small bottle containing Drake's medicines from a small table beside the bed. Then quickly sprinkled the pills on the emerald gem. Feel better, Drake? Issei asked. Fukuku. Better. Get some sleep, Drake, I think you need it. Go sleep for a day or two. Issei ordered then sighed. I hope I don't get any nightmares about the children who screamed Oppai again. Issei sighed and the boosted gear disappeared. Then looking at the duo who covered their mouths trying not to release a laughter. Not funny, you two. Issei said with his narrowed eyes in annoyance that usually Kaneko gave him. Azazel then stopped and cleared his throat. Ahem, now, we have to talk, Issei. It's about your illegal move trainer. The trio finally talked about lots of stuff about the underworld. After talking about Issei's trainer, the three had laughter and shared stories about their funny moments. It was fun until time for your medical checkup. A nurse came in bringing a wheelchair with her. Oh, look at the clock. Well, I will take my leave, Azazel-sensei, Saji. Issei said, climbing out of the bed to take a seat on the wheelchair. The four then walks out the room. Alright Hyoudou, I will take my leave as well. Saji said. Azazel then point his finger to Saji, freaking out him a bit. Before that, Saji, you will come with me into the Grigori. We still need to fix your performance with the Dragon King form, it still needs some few modifications, and I have something new to test out on you. Azazel said with his eyes sparkling. Yeah? Why should I? I will teleport you immediately, now go, Shimhaza, and the others are waiting for you. Azazel then prepared a teleportation circle below Saji. Hyoudou. Help him. Before Saji could even complete his sentence, he was teleported away. Issei and the nurse just made a bitter smile at this. Ah, Mrs. Lilith, can I have a private talk with Issei for a moment? Azazel said while looking at her name tag. The nurse nods and walked away from Issei and Azazel. What is it you want to talk to me, Azazel-sensei? Issei asked. Issei. I don't want you to act indifferent like that. Saji came here to help with your problems, but you concealed your depression. It's obvious just by looking at your aura, there is something that really bothers you. Why would you do this? Azazel said, making Issei frown a bit. Issei then opened his mouth and mutters. So no one can see me pathetically. Issei said while lowering his head. Azazel then sighed. Issei, no one has ever seen you like that. You know. Issei just lowered his head at what Azazel said. I'm going to the Grigori now, Issei, but I have to inform you something. Issei then raised his head to look at Azazel. You will be transferred to the medical center in Grigori tomorrow. Since it's most likely that Chaos Brigade will target you, we and the other mass have decided to transfer you there for you and the public safety. Azazel then continued. I also have a visitor for you in the Grigori. It's not your friends, but when you meet this visitor, don't release a killing intent to her, okay? Azazel said with a serious tone. Issei just nods. I'll take my leave, Ice. Oh, by the way, I'll send you videos of Saji screaming in the Grigori, you should see his face. Azazel said with a chuckle. Take care, Azazel-sensei. Don't go hard on Saji. Issei said with a small smile while looking at Azazel, who teleported himself away. Then, the nurse earlier came back. So, are you ready? The nurse asked with a smile. Yes, take me there please. The nurse nods, then pushed Issei's wheelchair to the place where he will be doing his checkups. While Issei was being pushed along the corridors, his head was filled with thoughts. While transferring him to the Grigori might be a good idea, he was wondering who was the visitor that Azazel mentioned. He thought about the volley team. Then a flash came through his mind. Would you die for me? Issei gasped in shock. The image of Rainer that came through his surprised him, because of the word die was frightening as hell. The word die was more like a growl. What's wrong? The nurse asked. Ah, it was nothing. Issei said with a small smile to the nurse, relieving the nurse by the name of Lilith. Line break. The next day, Issei was in the Grigori medical section. He was sitting on the wheelchair while being pushed by one of the fallen angel beauties. There was two of them, they were both twins with violet eyes and purple hair with braid crowns hairstyle. But Issei was not enjoying it as he left his perverted side. He was bringing his iPod along with him. A few minutes later, Issei and the nurses reached a room. It was the patient's room. The bed has carvings of fallen angels with a white pillow and white blanket. At the left side the bed was a small table, and on the right side was an IV stand with an ECG machine. In front of the bed was a coffee table with two chairs, and the window of the room was huge. It reaches from the floor to the ceiling. And there was flat screen TV on the wall. The room itself was luxury. Issei just sweat dropped at the sight. To him, it looks like a 4-star hotel room than a hospital room. The NURSES', they were not nurses. Azazel just ordered some fallen angel models to serve Issei for a few days, pushed the wheelchair towards the bed, then stopped, allowing Issei to stand up and lay on the bed. After Issei laid on the bed, one of the nurses fixed Issei's blanket, and one of them is attaching his left arm with the IV drip and the ECG line. Issei said thank you to the nurses, and one of them smiled at Issei seductively. Both of them finished doing so. We will be going now, Issei-sama, if you need anything just call us. We will give you a special reward if you recognize one of us. One of the nurses said seductively. Issei just blushed at one of the nurses. They both headed to the door. Oh, and by the way, my name is Lena. The one at the left said. And I'm Luna, if you recognize by my name, I will give you special treatment, Issei-sama. The one on the right said seductively while placing her fingers on her lips. Then they both leaved. Issei shook his head repeatedly, removing his improper thoughts about those two just now. Issei grabbed his iPod and put the earphones in his ears with his right arm as he cannot move his left. He then played the song Fallen Angel by 3 Days Grace. He was just going to sleep until the door opened. "Yo, how you're doing, Issei?" It was Azazel. He walked to Issei's bed. "Ah, Azazel-sensei, good evening." Issei greeted him in a sign of relief then continued. "Good to have you here, Azazel-sensei, the fallen angels here gives me creeps." "Ooh, is it because of what happened to you 6 months ago?" Azazel said. Then there was a moment of silence. Issei looked away from Azazel with a sad expression on his face. Azazel then sighed and opened his mouth. "I apologize for mentioning that and for letting the rogue fallen angels wandering Akuo," Azazel said, placing his right palm on his left chest. Issei then turned his head to Azazel slowly, forming a small smile. "I cannot be mad at you for that, Azazel-sensei, it was not your fault," Issei said. "I am glad to hear that, Issei, you really are a nice person," Azazel said. Azazel then continued but in a serious tone. "Did you remember what I informed you yesterday? The visitor? Yes, when she's gonna walk in, don't freak out, okay? Don't hold a killing intent towards her," Azazel said. Issei just nods. Azazel then walked to the door and said, "You can come in." Then what Issei saw made his eyes wide. Beside Azazel was a little girl with black hair dressed in a gothic Lolita dress. "It's been a while." Drake. Line break. Grigori Medical Section. 7 p.m. "It's been a while." Drake. "Oh, office," Issei said with a shaking voice. The ECG machine beats in a rapid pace, showing that Issei's heartbeat was fast. Azazel then rushed towards Issei. Hey. Ice. Get a hold to yourself." Azazel then grabbed a bottle of pills on the small table beside the bed. Quickly opened up the bottle and taking out 2 pills, then gave it to Issei. Issei swallowed the pills with ease. After a few seconds, the ECG machine then turns back to a normal beat. "Are you okay, Ice?" Azazel asked. Issei just nods. "I told you to not freak out, Ice. But it can't be helped," Azazel said with a bitter smile. "This is absurd, Azazel-sensei, why did you brought office here? This is breaking the rules of alliance," Issei said, trying not to yell and increase his heartbeat. "Yeah, I'm sorry, Ice, I have deceived many people in order for her to come here. But her wish would be something that might change Chaos Brigade itself. I decided that it was necessary to stop spills of blood in this stupid war. I will ask for you again. I am sorry for making you this surprised, but can you at least listen to her story?" Saying that, Azazel backs away a step and doing a full bow to Issei. There was a moment of silence in the room for a few seconds. Issei opened his mouth. "I will trust you, Azazel-sensei. The reason I was able to be a successful devil is thanks to Sensei," Issei said with a small smile. Azazel then stood from his bow and exhaled in relief. "Thank you, Ice. I hope you can get along with Office while just listen to her reason," Azazel said and looks at Office, who was quiet. Issei then asked. "So, shall I let her in and speak with me while having green tea? Is it only Office?" Issei asked. Saying that, there is a knock motherfucker on the door. Azazel then opened the door and said, "Please come in, Ice and Office is inside too." Azazel then went back to Issei's and Office's spot, leading somebody in. It was LaFay Pendragon with Fenrir. "LaFay?" Issei jaw dropped. "How are you doing, Issei-sama? It is I, LaFay Pendragon. I have been under your care along with Ria's Gremory and the rest at Kyoto. This over here is Fenrir-chan," LaFay said with a gentle polite tone. Fenrir barks hello. "LaFay, I'm fine. How are you doing?" "I am fine too, Issei-sama," LaFay said. "Well, that's good," Issei said. Then, a black blur appeared beside Issei. "Yinyaya. Long time no see, ShineiHyoudou. Do you still like my breast like always?" It was Kuroka who appeared and hugged onto Issei's right shoulder, while Issei's shoulder was buried in between her enormous woman melons. Issei just closed his eyes with a small blush on his face and his head lowered, trying to calm himself. "Kuroka-san, you're gonna get Ice here a second heart attack. So please refrain yourself from doing so," LaFay said to Kuroka. "Alright, Nyan." Kuroka gave a small peck on Issei's cheek before releasing her embrace from Issei. Issei was relieved that it was over, as he wants to stop being a pervert. It was then Office walks to Issei. Office looks straight to Issei. "I want to talk." Azazel then persuades Issei. "Drink tea and talk with her. I deceived and lied other factions in order to make this. If I was found out, then this will go in an ugly direction. My head will get cut off from my neck in front of heaven and the underworld for real," Azazel said with a serious tone. Issei just nods. A strange mixture of people gathered in Issei's room. Office was sitting on a chair next to Issei's bed while Azazel was leaning at the glass window, holding on to his chin. LeFay and Kuroka was sitting on the chairs at the coffee table spot. Fenrir was sleeping beside LeFay's leg, snoring slowly. There was a slight moment of silence. Office was staring right to Issei, making Issei a bit uncomfortable. Issei then looked to Azazel. This gave a look at Azazel with a face. What should I do? Azazel replied with a look. Just answer her if she asks questions. He then continued. It will be a good opportunity to understand her. Azazel gave Issei the look while his right arm extended to Issei and gave a thumbs up. Issei replied with a stern look while his eyes closed and a bitter smile. Even if you say that, she's the boss terrorist and the ultimate dragon. What should I really do? Help me. Azazel replied, I dunno. I'm out. Azazel then whistled, looking away from Issei. Lousy teacher, Issei thought. He then looked at LeFay and Kuroka. I don't know. Just do what you're supposed to do. They both gave Issei the look and shrugged their shoulders. Issei then set his view back to Office. Issei put on a smile and opened his mouth. His eyes still half closed, of course. What business do you have with me, Office? Issei asked and swallowed his spit. Greg. Do you quit being the heavenly dragon? Office asked. Issei just blinked in confusion. No. I don't understand. What are you trying to say? Issei asked in confusion. The devil, who is the host. He's been having a really strange growth of power. This is very strange. Very different from the previous heavenly dragon. Vali is also the same. Strange. Very strange. Office then continues. The fight against Cao Cao. Drake had different evolutions. Armor turned to crimson colored. It's the first time that I know of. That's why I want to ask. Drake. What do you want to become? Office asked while tilting her head. Issei blushed a bit by the cuteness. Then Issei's left back palm glowed emerald. I don't know, Office. I don't know what my host wants to become. But it's certain that he's having an interesting growth of power. Drake. Why did you think of becoming the ruler of domination? Office asked, looking at Issei's left palm. It must be the result of seeking power. Because of that, I was eliminated from this world. I couldn't increase my power instead of domination. I would never really thought that my red color would turn to crimson. Greg. I don't understand domination. Cow's brigades seek domination. I don't understand. Great Red is not domination. I am also not domination. Very interesting indeed. A conversation between a heavenly dragon and a dragon god. Must not waste this, it's something rare that you don't see often. Azazel, who was now sitting on a chair while eating popcorn. Next to the chair was a video camera on a tripod recording the scene. This guy. Issei thought with an angry mark on his head. There is no way a godly being like you would understand domination. You, who was born by nothingness of infinite, and Great Red, who was born from illusion, from dream, must have been from a different dimension. Drake said. Greg. The host who is bringing you. I sense strange power off from him. There is hope in him. But I don't why. He has a high potential to born hope. Drake. Will you discard domination for it? Hope. What does it mean? Azazel thought. I don't know, Office. It depends on his will, not mine. If it is what my host wants, then it shall be. I want to look. Drake. I want to look the possessor even more. I want to learn how he will born hope. Office said with colors of interest in her eyes, even her face is emotionless. Azazel then stood up from his chair and spoke. So like that, can you leave her for a few days in here? Just as you see, Office wants to look at you. It will be just fine if it's just looking at you, right? Azazel asked, walking to Issei. I'm okay with it. If it's just looking and talking, then I will be fine. Issei said with a small smile. I'm sorry for dragging you in every situation like this, Ice. Putting stress in you even though you're sick. But this is a chance to lessen the threat to every faction. Azazel said, putting his hands on Issei's head. It's alright, Azazel-sensei, it was never stressful for me to contribute myself to the world. Issei said with a small smile. Azazel then spoke while looking at LeFay and Kuroka. LeFay and Kuroka, I would like you to take care of Ice too, since the female fallen angels here has a sadistic personality here that might fears Ice. Azazel said with a slight of serious tone. Alright, LeFay said with her eyes sparkling. I understood, Nyan. Thank you, and Kuroka, can you give Issei Senjutsu treatment? Since your sister, Kaneko, is still recovering from the fight, Issei was lacking of Senjutsu treatment that he needs to expand his lifespan. Also, he can heal faster with that. Azazel said. No problem, Nyan, if it's with ShineiHyoudou then it wouldn't be a problem then, Nyan. Kuroka said, then looked at Issei seductively. Azazel then looked at the iPod that Issei was holding. Oh, and one more thing, Ice, I was curious about the songs that you were hearing to, since you were never the type who listens to songs actually. Azazel said while pointing at the crimson-colored iPod. Saying that, it also got the interest of Office. Here. Issei said with a bitter smile. Handing the iPod to Azazel. Azazel then looked at the playlists. He was shocked. This is. Azazel said with his eyes went wide and hands shaking. In the playlist was rock musics. Azazel then speak out the songs in it with a slight of shock in his voice. In the playlist was. Down with the Fallen. Azazel starts to list out the songs in it. I Will Not Die. This also got the attention of LaFay and Kuroka. Tell Me Why. The Future Is Now. Apocalypse Cigarettes After Sex. Dark on Me. After Dark. Angels Fall. Fallen Angel. Azazel stopped there because of the song lists. The song's genre was obvious that it was rock just by its title and band. Issei sighed before he spoke up. This music speaks what cannot be expressed and soothes my mind and heals my heart. This rock music, it gives the soul to the universe, wings to the mind, flight to the imagination and life to everything. It plays the moment, pause the memories, stop the pain and rewind the past. I don't even know how I got my interests in this, funny right? Everyone but Office was out of Issei's poetry. It was like something took place in his mind. Will you die for me? Issei remembered the scene which made his expression change a bit. Oh where ain't her? Issei thought. Issei then took the iPod from Azazel's hands. Azazel then spoke out loud making Issei shocked. Instantly triggered the ECG machine, which means Issei got quite the shock. Ice. I am so proud of you son for finally taking a liking for Fallens and music, you also finally got smarter. I should go arrange something to celebrate this. Azazel said while running to the door and exited the room. From outside, there was a sound Shemhazaya could be heard. A gruff voice then replied what? Issei just sweat dropped of his sensei's actions. In Issei's thoughts, Azazel was like his father. Caring and supporting in every situation, sometimes Azazel was looked as a serious governor, but in the other side, he was a mad and funny scientist that can be driven crazy by his own desires. That governor is quite strange. LaFay said with a bitter smile. Office was staring at something that caught Issei's notice. It was the iPod. Office's face was quite emotionless, but in her eyes, there was curiosity in it. Issei then spoke up. Were you curious about this Office? Issei asked with a slight of stuttering because he didn't really know how to handle the dragon god alone. It was a bit awkward in the room. Greg. I wish to know about the key. The key to your potential to born hope. The object you are holding in your hands. I believe you call it an iPod. What is an iPod? Office asked while tilting her head. She looked so innocent. Issei thought. He then spoke. Well, an iPod is something for you to hear music. Come here, try listening to it. Issei said. With his fear disappearing every moment when he got to know Office. Office leaned closer to Issei. He then placed the earphones in her pointy ears. Office just kept quiet and leaned on the chair with the earphones in her ears. Issei then played the song Let It Die and kept the volume around 7. The moment got quiet for a few seconds. After a good 1 minute and a half, Issei then asks after pausing the song so Office can hear him. How was it Office? Issei asked and just realized that his actions on disturbing Office may anger her. Oh crap Issei thought. It was. Great. I felt like I was back at home. Office said to Issei. Issei let out a breath of relief. That's good. Want me to continue the song? Issei asked. Office just nods. Then, LaFay approached Issei. Issei-sama, see can I have your photograph please? LaFay asked and hands a picture of Issei in his balance breaker mode and the Switch Princess. But you? Issei thought. He missed his friends a company, but due to their injury, they were still recovering. Will you die for me? Sure, why not LaFay, you can drop the honorifics, all of my friends can call me Issei. Issei said while signing the photograph. Why yes Issei, LaFay said with a hint of blush on her face. Then Kuroka made her move on Issei. Nyan, wanna make kittens Issei? Kuroka said while embracing Issei from his shoulder. Not you too Kuroka. Issei said with a big blush on his face. In a hospital where the orc gang is. Do you think Ice-kun was unaware of Ria's Butchu's feelings towards Ice-kun? Akeno said, sitting on a chair next to Kaneko's bed. Hey, what makes you think like that Akeno-san? The one who asked was Asia, standing next to Akeno. In the room was the ORC group, or can I say betraying Issei group. PFFFTTT, excluding Ria's, all of the group members was fully healed, but Kaneko. She got quite the damage by Saraerg in the match that day. She was brutally beaten in 2 fights between Saraerg's peerage. Kaneko was laying on the bed, conscious while the other members was next to her bed. Hiba was standing with Gasper a bit far from the girls, while Zenobia and Irina was sitting on some chairs next to the bed. They were talking about Issei's, Akeno's and Kiba's devil class promotion for a while, but after Azazel, who told them that Issei was totally fine in the Grigori and the promotion, left the room, they talked about Issei's condition, but was relieved that he was okay. They were all worried about Issei when he suddenly had his heart imploded that day. Literally imploded. But in the same time, they need to fix something for their master, so their group can reoperate as usual. But ignoring Issei's feelings, little they know, his nightmare, his trauma, his under-the-bed monster, his fallen loved one, is still haunting him until this day, but the devils who are Issei's friends, are naturally selfish. It is something that will forever stay like that. Irina, who is a reincarnated angel who was always live under the same roof with the devils, have been influenced to be selfish. I mean, the world, the universe is cruel and dark even at the brightest moments, and forever, it is permanent as the world has cursed itself to be cruel. Akeno then spoke with her serious tone. Ice-kun didn't notice that Rias had feelings for him. If this continues, this will be bad. But we all had feelings for Issei senpai. Senpai must notice our feelings for him. Kaneko spoke up with her monotone voice. Her forehead was wrapped with bandages. Agree, but we have to fix this matter between Ice-kun and Rias Butchu, or this group will not function properly without Rias Butchu focusing. Zenobia said with her left arm crossed while the right was holding on to her chin. But don't you see Ice-san that day? He was heartbroken. We need to apologize to him. Issei senpai looks despaired that day. Kaneko said, staring down the bed. Even though she hadn't her cat form on well, it looks like her cat ears are down. I mean, she looks so cute. Yes. We will apologize to Ice-kun when we visit him after Kaneko-chan will be released tomorrow. Akeno said with a small tear forms on her left eye, but not enough to make everyone notice. Come on, let's find Rias Butchu to tell her first. Kiba said with to the girls and Gasper, which all of them nods. Phoenix Castle. Do I look good in this? Isabella said Ravel. Standing in front of a large mirror in her room with another person, which is Isabella. She is currently wearing a pink high neck dress with a red high heels for her shoes. I think you look pretty in the dress, Ravel-sama. I don't know what Isabella calls Ravel, so yay. But why is the sudden call? Isabella asked. Her attire consists in her battle suit and still with her half mask on. Ravel then walks to her bed and sat there with her face had a blush on it. I'm going to visit Issei-sama in the Grigori later, so it's important for me to look good. Ravel said with staring down. I see, do you need my assist to escort you, Ravel-sama? No, I will go on my own, Azazel-sensei will be fetching me later. I just want to ask your opinion about my dress, that's all. Why don't you ask Lady Phoenix? She is more detailed in giving opinions. No. If I ask mother she will only tease me more, plus, I will have to tell her about the incident that day. Ravel said with her tsundear tone just for a while. Are you still feeling guilty about that day? Isabella asked, now sitting beside Ravel. There was a moment of silence for about 10 seconds until Ravel spoke out. I regret for not protecting Issei-sama that day. If I did, it will not happen like this. That day, he was heartbroken, I saw it in his eyes. It was the feeling of fear and despair. I never felt that feeling before, but I saw it right through him. Which is why I need to fix this for Issei-sama and Rias-sama. Ravel said, then the room went silent. Isabella was listening to it all. She then spoke out. It was never your fault to begin with, Ravel-sama. If the boy who you had a crush on needs mental help, then go get him. Help with to get over with his feelings. When it is the day where you need him the most, he will come for you no matter what. That Issei-Hyoudou, you know, is more than just a man. And your dress, it really fits you and I'm sure he will look up to you. Isabella said with a smile. Ah. Thank you, Isabella. Ravel replied with a small smile, then adjusts her hair. You are welcome, if it's just that all then I will take my leave now, Ravel-sama. Isabella said, then sat up and left the room. Ravel nods and just sat on the bed, waiting for Azazel to fetch her. Grigori medical section. The next day. 3 p.m. Is this really necessary, Kuroka? Issei said, blushing madly and eyes narrowed in annoyance. Naya, it is for your own good, Naya. Kuroka said seductively. In the room was Issei and Kuroka. They were doing senjutsu healing treatment. Unlike the healing treatment that Issei and Kaneko usually do, Kuroka was only hugging Issei from his right shoulder, and by hugging, you know what that means, right? Issei's right shoulder was bare, so the kai can flow better from Kuroka's body to Issei. Why are you suddenly stop being a pervert, Issei-chan? Naya, the last time I saw you were nose bleeding just by a hug, or should I strip naked to you, Naya? Kuroka said, then held her obi. Issei leaned a bit far from Kuroka's embrace and shouted. No. Thank you but no. So just please continue with the treatment, okay? Kuroka. Issei said, then leaned back to Kuroka. Kuroka just giggled and enjoyed teasing him. The two continued their task for the next 30 minutes quietly. Then Issei blew up the silence in the room. Kuroka, can I ask you a question? Naya. About you and Kaneko-chan, what exactly happened to Kaneko that night when you left her? Why did you kill your master? For a girl to love and care about her younger sister, you put her in deep trauma because of what you did that night. I don't understand why would you do that to Kaneko-chan? Issei asked. Kuroka lowered her head at the mention which Issei put a regret on. I'm sorry for asking such question, if you don't want to answer a private question like that then I. He was a despicable bastard. Kuroka said with a serious face on. No longer in her smiley face with that Nyan voice. At night, Kuroka began to explain why she killed her master. It was a good 30 minutes talk between them. Issei was hearing to it all, he did not interrupt what Kuroka sighed. After Kuroka finished they went silent. So that is why Kaneko-chan is so afraid of using her powers so bad. It is unavoidable in the first place Naya. Kuroka said finally having her Naya voice. The moment went silent again for a moment. Kuroka, what if I help you to bond with Kaneko-chan again? Issei said. Naya. What if I help you to bond with Kaneko-chan to atone your crimes that you have done on Kaneko and the underworld? Then you can help her with her senjutsu training at my place. If it is for the sake of my friend, then I will do it. I'll help you reunite with your sister, okay, Kuroka? Said Issei in a manly manner. Kuroka blinked and sighed. In the end I will fall in love for you Issei-chin, everybody will. Lefei will also fall for you. Hyaudou Naya. If that happens then I will have my bed full, which is something bad. Issei laughed a bit. Hi Naya, but why cut the perverted side of you Issei-chin? I noticed it since I came here, Naya. Kuroka asked. Issei stared down because of the mention. There was a moment of silence for about 20 seconds until Issei answered. So people will take it serious on me? Issei said with a low tone. Kuroka blinked at it. So people will take it serious on me, enemies will never underestimate me ever again. It is a decision that I have decided Kuroka, if people will never see how pathetic I am, every painful incident that happened to Asia, Gasper, Kiba, Zenobia, Akeno, Riaz, your sister Kaneko and me will never happen again. All those incidents that happened to them is because I am weak, pathetic, perverted and lowly, it is all because of my desires that kept me away from being strong, so that is why I swear upon my life that I will leave this perverted side and be strong for others' sake. Seeing my friends happy and unharmed from world's cruelty, that is what I want, Kuroka. And about your relationship between you and Kaneko, I will help you to build the family bond of you and Kaneko. If it is for my friend's happiness, then I will do whatever I can. At the last sentence, Issei raised his head to look at Kuroka. Which Kuroka blinked her eyes and blushed a bit. She then tightened her embrace to Issei. What's wrong Kuroka? Issei said blushily. I can't help it Naya, your face got very manly. I think I want to make kittens with you now Naya. Kuroka said, placing her head on Issei's shoulder. Please help me. Anyone? Issei thought in his head. It was then, there was a rip in the room, it was a rip from the dimensional gap. Kuroka, put him down or he's gonna have a second heart attack. The one who talked was Vali. Out came from the rip was Vali, Biku, Arthur and Office herself with Issei's iPod with her. Kuroka back away from Issei a bit and fixed her kimono and tightened her obi. How are you doing, Hyoudou Issei? Vali greeted to Issei while walking to him with his left hand raised. Biku and Arthur also greeted him. Vali, going to hit me while I'm like this? Issei said. If I would, it will be a cowardly act so I better not. Vali replied with a smirk. So Vali, what brings you here with the others? If it is visiting me then there is more right. Issei said while looking at the others. It was then Office was walking towards Issei. I want to charge this. Office said. Issei just smiled at her presence. Here's the charger Office. Issei then handed it to Office. You sure have attracted the attention of the dragon god itself Op-I Dragon. Kakaka. Biku said smilingly. I didn't hear that. Drake said out loud. He was speaking like Office already. Don't say that too much Biku, Drake will be really upset for that and he also started to nightmares of it. Issei said while looking at his back palm. We came here to visit you, it is important for us to keep our rivals alive and this here is for you Hyoudou Issei. Get well soon. Vali said then, a magic circle appeared on his palm. It was something like a magazine but was wrapped with a gift wrapper. Vali then handed it to Issei. Which in Issei's thought he already knew what it is. This magazine's thickness. The width. The length. Could it be? Issei's face was madly red. Thanks. Issei said then putting it on top of the table next to the bed. And also. Azazel invited us to a party in here tonight, the Grigori Research Center, since it is its 200th year and you are also coming with us. I see, I never knew you're a party person Vali. The world is vast Hyoudou Issei, you should know that every person has something hidden in itself. I will be taking my leave, I have something to discuss with Azazel. Volley said and headed to the door with Biku and Arthur. Don't masturbate too much up-eye dragon. It's bad for your health. Biku said and they all left the room leaving a sweat dropping Issei and a Kuroka and Office who was listening to the music. Issei then look at Office, sitting on a chair at near the coffee table, then look at the table where he placed the magazine, but it was already gone. What? Where the heck? Issei muttered, he was going to hide the magazine as he knew what kind of magazine it was. He really need to dispose it or give it to Azazel. He then looks at Kuroka who was sitting on a chair next to Issei's bed. She was reading the magazine which made Issei's eyes went wide, and when he looked carefully on what she's reading, he exhaled in relief, it was just an ordinary cooking magazine. Nah, it's not an Euro magazine, you naughty Issei-chin. Kuroka said with a smirk, then continued to read lazily while her tail just whipped left and right. Volley that bastard Issei thought as he thought it was a magazine that he feared of. He leaned back to the bed's headboard. When he began to drift into sleep, the door opened. Issei opened his eyes to look at who was coming. Good evening, Issei-sama. It was Ravel. Issei was shocked at who was coming. He then yelled in his thoughts, don't know what he should express, joy or fear. Ravel. Does that means the others are here too? Ravel walked to Issei while noticing Kuroka and Office was in the room. Good evening Ravel, did you came here with the others? Issei said to Ravel who was standing beside Issei but across to Kuroka. I came here alone, Ria-sama, and the others say they will come visit you tonight, Issei-sama. Ravel said, a bit intimated with the presence of Kuroka and an unknown Office. She was a bit scared with Kuroka there. So the others will come here late huh? Issei thought before setting his view back to Ravel who was sitting next to him. Issei-sama, why is Kaneko-san's big sister is here, and who is that? Ravel said and looked at Kuroka. Kuroka made a quite scary face to Ravel before continued to read. They're here because. Issei began to explain to Ravel about why are those two here and Office's objective. After he finished the explanation, Ravel spoke up. So that is why they are here huh, if Issei-sama is with me then it will be fine then. Ravel said in relief. Yes, so please cooperate alright Ravel. Ravel nods. Then she speaks again after about 5 seconds, this time her tone was a bit lower. I am sorry. Issei blinked in confusion. About the other day, I'm sorry for not protecting you that day, who knew that you can be heartbroken. Ravel said staring down. Office was not paying attention, and Kuroka moved to another chair next to Office, giving the two space to clear up. Issei then spoke up and put his left hand on Ravel's shoulder. Ravel looked up to Issei's face, her face was filled with sadness and sorrow, because of the guilt that she thinks she carries. Issei then spoke. It was never your fault to begin with Ravel. It was my fault for being so dense and dumb plus, I can't be mad at you for the things that you didn't do. Let's just forget about it, I don't want to see you sad and feel guilty over a thing that was not your fault. Okay, Ravel. Issei said smilingly. Would you die for me? But. Shush Ravel, if you want to talk about this then let's wait until the others come. I would feel bad for myself for seeing my beautiful junior sad okay? Issei said and placed both of his hands on Ravel's shoulders. Ravel blushed seeing him being selfless and manly. She had a crush on him ever since the battle with Razor. Alright Issei-sama. Ravel said, then Issei moved his hands away. So Ravel, why are you dressing this beautiful for just visiting me? I am sure you didn't came from anywhere else. Issei said and leaned at the headboard. Ravel was wearing a yellow high-neck dress with a gem on the middle of the chest area. Which is more fit to older woman since Ravel was still young, Issei noticed it quickly when she came here. Sheesh, it's a princess's priority to wear nicely. That's why I can't stand it with low-class devils, they are so dense with the underworld's culture. HMMPH. Ravel said and crossed her arms. Back in her tsundere mode. I guess she's back huh Issei thought. B+, there will be a party tonight, so I have dressed for the occasion. You're invited too? Of course. It is my duty as your manager to look over you. So, I will be coming with you to the party. Ravel said thumping her chest with her hands. Wait, when did you become my manager? Issei said confusingly. Surzicha-sama inducted me as your manager to manage your Op-I Dragon TV show so, from today on I will be managing and helping you on your devil businesses. Ravel said with her eyes sparkling. That Mayu sure does everything without my permission huh? Issei said with his head shaking. 7 p.m. The night of the party, Issei, Ravel and Kuroka and an Office was walking towards the ballroom. Issei was wearing much nicer cloths than wearing the hospital's. He got it from Azazel earlier. He can walk safely now as he will be released soon. Issei was wearing a black leather jacket, half-zipped, and under it was a jet black t-shirt. He also wears a black jeans and Converse shoes, which looks nice on him. Ravel was wearing her dress earlier. Kuroka was wearing her kimono as usual, but was more covering her breast while Office was wearing. Well, you know, she also had the iPod with her which Issei gave to her earlier. We're here. Ravel spoke when they stopped at a large door. Which there was a receptionist and some decorations in front of the door. Ravel then walked to the receptionist to give the invitation card. Issei, Office and Kuroka stood there while waiting for Ravel. Issei then looked at Office and Kuroka. Is it okay for you two to come in? You both know that there are other fallen angel leaders beside Azazel Sensei, right? Naya, it is fine, Azazel already took care of that problem, Naya. Oh, that's good news then. Alright, let's go inside, everyone, Ravel said to them. I hope no wild parties, oh shit. Then the large door was opened by the receptionists. Inside was not a wild party, which Issei was relieved as he is still in care of Office. The ballroom was huge with a skylight which shows the beautiful night. There are plenty of people inside, talking to each other while having drinks. Inside, there was also harmonic music playing and some round tables at a section. There was also a stage, decorated for some kind of purpose. The food and drinks corner were at the ballroom's left side. When Issei walked in first, he was spotted by some younger fallen angels in their age like LaFay. It's the Op-Eyed Dragon. Aye Op-Eyed Dragon. Uh-oh. Hear that, I didn't. Drake said in Issei's mind. What are you supposed to be, Yoda? Issei was crowded by a bunch of people, asking for his photograph and such. The other three already spotted Azazel and the volley team, having their food on the table, so they went there while Issei was doing his fan service stingy. Oh, Ice, you're here. Azazel said before drinking his beverage. Issei, who was bringing his meal, then took a seat beside Azazel. It was tiring, Azazel Sensei, you didn't tell me that younger fallen angels liked my show too. Issei said, then look around the table. There was the volley team, Ravel and an Office, having their dinner. Issei was sitting between Office and Azazel. While Ravel was next to Office. What? You don't like it? I'm pretty sure some of them are your type. Azazel said with a wide lecherous grin. Hell no, Azazel Sensei, I'm trying to become more a gentleman now, since acting pervertly all the time is something that I need to stop to do. Issei said and then clasped his hands. I did Akamasu. Wow, that's unlikely of you. Well, how's it going with Office on the first day? Azazel asked, which made Issei stop eating for a while. Azazel Sensei, Office. Are you sure she is the boss of the Cows Brigade? Issei said seriously. Office, I talked to her this morning. Flashback. Office, may I ask you something? Issei asked. Issei and Office was walking outside in a garden. Issei decided to take a walk until Office tagged in. Observing him. Issei noticed her innocent behavior unlike the Cows Brigade members. Issei noticed all of this, and he was curious about her main goal, and it was the time to ask. Office, as the leader of Cows Brigade, what is your main goal actually? My main goal? Defeat Great Red and go home. Defeat Great Red? Why? Great Red has stolen my silence. Defeating Great Red will give my silence back. And I can return home. Her home? Where is your home, Office? Dimensional gap. My birthplace. I will claim my home and obtain silence from Great Red. That is your only goal? Office nods. Then why would you join Cows Brigade? They say they can help me defeat Great Red. If I give them snakes, then they will help me defeat Great Red. That is why I joined them. They immediately make me their leader. They both stopped walking. Issei deeply thought. She is not a leader of a terrorist group like Cows Brigade. She is innocent and naive. She has no desire to battle or destroying the world, even she can do so. Her existence is pure. Could it be that Cows Brigade is using her? I really need her to stay with me and be my friend. Hey, Office. Yes. Do you want to be my friend? What is a friend? A friend is somebody who you can talk to and admit your feelings to them, as well as protect them from any harm. That sounds nice. Office said. Issei then took out something from his pocket. Dear Office, you seem to take interest in this, and I want you to take it. As our sign of friendship. Office then took it from his hands and stared at the iPod, which had the earphones, of course. Briggs' iPod. Office said and looked up to Issei. Yes, I want you to have it, you like to hear to songs, right? Then I want you to take good care of it. And also, you can call me Issei if that is fine. Issei said with a smile. Okay. Issei. So what I am thinking was, Office was used by the Cows Brigade. Office was being used the whole time. I can sense that the Cows Brigade is lying to her. Issei said and turned his head to look at Office, who was hearing to a song Radioactive Imagine Dragons. I see, then this is something that the three factions might consider. Good work, Eyes, I'm proud of you. Azazel said and gulps a glass of wine. Thanks, Azazel Sensei, and also, it was nice to know that Office was not a big threat to us. Plus, I might take her as my friend and she can also stay at my place. Oh, you mean taking her into your harem, you bastard. Azazel said with a large grin like he was in some kind of comedy, and I'm Shut up. Issei said with his face red and drank a glass of grape juice. Maybe taking office into my harem would be nice. No. Bad Issei bad. Taking such innocent girl into my harem is a no-no. Then a flash came through his head. Issei-san. It was Asia. Asia? Ice? Azazel asked, snapping him out from his thoughts. What? Do you see that stage there? Azazel asked. Issei nods. Since you started to take a liking in rock music, why not take a shot up there? ShineiHyoudou and I have prepared the instrumentals. Plus, it would light up the mood here. Azazel said with a smirk. Actually, I'd like to. Issei said, then whispers at Azazel about the songs that he wants to perform. Azazel gave a large smirk at Issei. It can be done. Well, let's go. Issei nods and both of them then leaves the group and headed somewhere. Naya, where are you going, Issei-chin? Kuroka asked. Just got some business to do for a while, I'll see you guys soon. MNGHH, Issei-sama. Azazel-sensei. Don't leave me here. Ravel yelled out, fearing the volley team. Don't worry, Ravel. LeFay's there, at least she is not a weirdo. Issei said and left the group. 10 minutes later, the group was just chatting and enjoy the food there, while Office was drifting in her own thoughts while listening to the songs. It was then the lights in the ballroom dimmed a bit, at least the light from the moon that shone through the skylight gave some light. Then, there was a sound of the speaker turning on. Back at the stage was lit up with blue neon light, and there was a person standing there. It was Azazel. The crowd and the volley team paid attention to it. Hello everyone. It is I, Governor Azazel. I would like to thank you guys to come to this party to celebrate the 200th year of the Grigori Research Center. And we have a special guest tonight. Please accept this performance from this special guest, ShineiHyoudou Issei. Azazel announced like a host. Azazel then got down from the stage. The crowd and the volley team were surprised at the announcement. Office unplugged her earphones because the mention of Issei. Then a person appeared from the backstage. It was Issei. What? Issei-sama. Ravel yelled out and looked at the stage. The crowds gathered in front of the stage to see Issei perform. The group also gathered in front of the stage. When the song ends there, the crowd gave a wild cheers to Issei and yelled out his name repeatedly. Up I dragon, up I dragon, up I dragon. I didn't hear that either. Drake said in Office's assent. One more time. And this is the last one, people. Issei said to the crowd's enjoy. Another song played again. Play. Down with the Fallen by Starset. Who knew that my rival could be a huge celebrity? Volley scoffed. Naya, Issei-chin is far forwards from you in terms of popularity, Naya. Kuroka teased the hacker Yaku. I rather not having the world calling me in a weird name anyway. Albion spoke out, sympathizing his rival. Thank you. Issei simply said and left the stage, and the crowd cheered for Issei while he left. The group went back to their table, waiting for Issei and Azazel. They were talking about Issei's performance. After 15 minutes, Issei walked to the group smilingly, don't know what to say when they react to his performance. Hey guys. Issei said. Issei-sama. Why didn't you tell us that you can sing? Ravel said in her almighty tone. Cause I don't have the chance to do so. Issei said. Issei-san. Your performance on the stage just now was awesome. LeFay said to Issei with her eyes sparkling. Haha, thanks LeFay. Issei smiled sheepishly. Naya, I hope our kittens can sing like you to Issei-chin. Naya. Kuroka said seductively. Not again, Kuroka. Issei's sweat dropped. Though it was a disappointment that they weren't here. Issei thought as he was disappointed that his friends were not yet arrived. Issei was now in the room. Though the party isn't over yet, he went to the room to take his time alone and taking his medicine and drugs. There was one thing bothering him, and it was the depression that he hid all the time. Can he confront Therese after the incident that day? He doesn't know. The one reason he never went too far when the girls are around him that he was afraid when he does that, he will break it all, breaking the friendship and the good memories between him and them. He just wants to keep the relationship stay and goes on forever. To him, having a girl sleeping by your side doesn't mean she loves you. His trauma was enough to make him suffer badly. Would you die for me? Issei cringed a bit at the flash. He cursed himself, why would someone go out on a date with him at the first place? Every time he thought about that, he couldn't help but just remembering the trauma. Unknown to Issei, a plan was plotting behind him, not knowing to call it evil or for good. Meanwhile in Azazel's office. ShineiHyoudou, when they will be arriving. The heir of Gremory and her peerage are on their way, Azazel. Good. This is all for you, Issei, please understand that no one looks you pathetically. Azazel thought. There was a person beside him. You ready, Office? Yes. I have sensed dark aura from him. It was something in his past that haunts him. His chance to born hope is impossible if that stays inside him. Office said and walks out. Azazel just let out a huge smile of justification. Back in Issei's room, Issei was standing in front of the window, enjoying the nighttime view which was beautiful. He then snapped out when he heard the door opened. He turned his head to look at the door. It was Office. What is it, Office? Sit down. Office said. Issei didn't argue at all, he sat on the foot of the bed. What now? We need to talk. We need to talk. Office said. About what, Office? Issei asked with a smile. Issei was somehow feeling calm with Office's presence. The dark aura inside you. Your chance to born hope is impossible if it stays inside you. I sense a fallen angel inside you. Office said. Issei was confused. Then, his left back palm glows green. Partner. It's time for you to let it all out, Drake said out loud. What do you mean, Drake? Office, what did you mean by a fallen angel which is inside me? Would you die for me? Those are the words I hear inside your head. Issei was shocked when Office said that. But how? Issei asked with a stuttering voice. Partner, I can't help it, but when I heard those words, I felt your feelings. You were in much depression that I can't enter your thoughts. That Rainer, I still haunting you that badly, right? Drake's hands were shaking. He felt so good right now that someone will help him get over with everything. Just when Issei's hands were shaking, Office grabbed onto it. Would you die for me? Speak. Let it all out. Office said. Issei tried his best not to cry and he did not. His face turned to dead cold expression. Uma. No, Rainer was my first girlfriend. She is the first person to give me life, else Mitsuda and Motohama, and prove that I deserve to be loved. When she first asked me on a date that day on the bridge, it was the happiest moment that I ever had. On the date, I did my best for her, I brought her to many fun places, and even bought her a bracelet as a sign of our relationship. But when the day of the date ended, she killed me. Issei said and continues. Would you die for me? She killed me and said the date was boring, and I was not meant to live and to be loved. The person that I really have hopes for me. I really loved her, even she killed me. But that night at the church, I hit her. I was mad at her when she killed Asia, so I hit her. But when I was gonna kill her by Butchu's orders, she turned into Yuma and begged me to spare her life, but the most shocking part is when she kept the bracelet that I bought for her on the date. I couldn't kill her, so Butchu did it. When she was killed, only her feathers remain. Until this day, I still keep this with me. Issei said sadly, his face did not mean pain, but his voice means it. Issei summoned his boosted gear. He took something out from under the gauntlet. It was a black feather. I kept this feather with me inside the boosted gear. To remind me forever that if a girl is close to you, it doesn't mean that she loved you. Issei said while just staring at the feather. A feather that meant 100 of feelings. Issei then slid it back under the gauntlet, then dismissed it. Partner. You have done and sacrificed yourself many times for your friends. That blonde-haired boy whom you freed him from being an Avenger. That half-vampire that you helped and encouraged him to become braver. That brunette that you cherished and encouraged when she was lost after knowing that God is dead, and you asked Michael to let her and that blonde-haired girl to pray. That childhood friend of yours whom you protected and care for. That blonde-haired girl whom you saved from Rainer that night at the church. That cat girl whom you helped her to get over her fears and accepted herself as who she is. That raven-haired girl that you helped her with her past as a fallen angel and reunite her with her father, and Ria's Gremory. Whom you have helped her to get a strong peerage. The one that you saved from her forced wedding to let her have freedom in life. The one that you have protected and helped her a lot. You have proved yourself as a man, a nice friend, a protective comrade countless time. Yet, do you still think that the girls don't love you? I told you, Drake. Ones believe that love is proven by many ways. Yet, I don't know. That. If they loved me or no, Issei said with sadness in his tone. He tried not to cry as he doesn't want to have his face look pathetically. Why he doesn't believe that the girls loves him that deeply. He thoughts about it all. Zenobia just wants a strong children by having a mess with him. Irina was just a caring childhood friend to Issei. Asia just loves and sees him as a big brother. Kaneko just uses him as a furniture and a sandbag. Akeno was just spoiling Issei as a junior, and Riaz was just being affectionate to her servants, as the Gremory was known for its affection to their servants. Plus, Issei thought that Riaz was just showing her ahimo to him so he can become stronger. The girls that always slept with him every night, he thought that was just because the girls are competing against each other. All of it doesn't matter to Issei. He thinks that they were being nice to him as a friend, a comrade, and he thought that he will never deserve love. He even remembered that they say they liked him. This made Issei down for weeks, yet he just hid it with his perverted side. Partner. What are you going to do when the girls arrived? Do you wish to stay with them after they ignore your feelings and ending up your heart to be crushed? Do you wish to still be their friends and comrade? Drake asked. There was a moment of silence before Issei can answer. Was upset that the fact that they insult me that day, I can't believe that they cannot see it in me. The day that I was in the hospital, when I watched them fight, I felt nothing about them, and I think I don't care about them anymore. Issei then remembered the whole thing that Rainer said to him. I don't want a filthy low-class devil like you talking to me. The times, I wonder if it's okay for me to talk to everyone. Ahahaha. Yeah, you are right. It was a very royal date. Thanks to it, I was very bored. I wonder if they are actually bored being with me when we went shopping together. I don't want a rotten brat like you calling my name. I wonder if they are actually disgusted with me calling their names. Ice-kun. Please save me. This devil is trying to kill me. I love you. I love you so much. That's why, let's defeat this devil together. It's a pain to hold all these questions when I am near them. I am lost Drag. I don't want to be near them. I know that they are good people, and they are always being kind to me, but I am scared if I try to advance the relationship with them, that will make me be rejected and laughed again, Issei said with a low tone. However, Issei raised his head to look at Office. I must be by their side. I must encourage them and be their mental support. I promised Kaneko-chan and Akeno-san that I will help them to get over their fear. I promise Asia that I will never leave her and transform into Juggernaut Drive again. I promised that I will protect Zenobia and Irina as friends and help them with their fears. I promised Gasper that I will train him to be a fearless and brave man. I promised Kiba that we will become ultimate class devils, and I promised to Butchu that I will be the ultimate pawn. I will also protect Roswia-san as a comrade. To be with them is not for my own sexual desire, I will protect them to see them happy. When they are happy, that makes me happy too. I saw the pain and their traumatic past in their eyes, and I swear that I will protect them from the events that almost took their lives happening again. That is what I swear upon my life Drag, Office. To protect my dear ones and I admit that I love the girls, I love them so much, but this is my curse, I cannot confess it to them. It is okay if my relationship with them stays like it and I will never be loved by them. Issei said in a determined tone. Forgetting his traumatic past and the fact that his friends could not understand his feelings for a moment. Partner. It is not my choice, but would you do it for their own sake? Would you endure it all? The pain and sufferings. Even though they will never understand your feelings in the end. And they will repeat the same act and got you in a life and death situation again. Drake said with a bit choke, meaning he was sympathetic for his partner. Issei nods. The pain and suffering that I will face is nothing compared than the one when I see them sad, suffering, and crying over my own mistake. If they will never understand my feelings, then I will wait until the day I'll have my last breath. Issei said with a mix of determination and sadness. You know, partner, I want you to know that there is a keyword for you. What you have in your heart and soul is considered a truly unique gift among devil and dragons. Do you know what is it? What is it? Selflessness. You are caring, courageous, kind, and had a golden heart behind your perverted self. Most dragons and devils are naturally selfish, but you here show selflessness even you are mixed with both of the race. Although your selflessness will get you into more pain and sufferings, you accepted it with open arms just to see others happy. If that Asia, Zenobia, Irina, Akeno, Kaneko and Gremory girl doesn't deserve your love, I am sure that there are more women in this universe would love your act of kindness, caring, selflessness and devotion. If you are willing to endure the pain and just suffer for the next 1,000 years, then there is nothing that I can do to stop you. Good night, partner. You too, Office. Drake said. Office patted Issei's left back palm before Drake dismissed. Then, what happened to Issei was shocking. Issei was not sulking or sobbing at all, but there it was, a blood tear coming out from his left eye. Issei's cold expression doesn't match the bloody tears that is flowing from his eyes, but it was enough to prove that he is in deep pain. He will take the pain and suffering forever just for others' sake. He can just stop calling them his friends and leave, but why didn't he do that? Cause he loved them, it's just, he was afraid confessing to them will end up their relationship. Office then handed out a tissue box to Issei, which Issei took it. The blood tears of a dragon. I never thought that I will witness it again. Office said. Issei did not wipe the tears. The blood tears, Issei asked in confusion. The tears of a pure-hearted dragon like you. Issei. There are not many dragons that are kind-hearted this age. When a dragon like you promises to protect its loved ones dearly. This happens. Office said. Issei. Are you sure that you will take this responsibility and protect your friends forever? Office said emotionless. I will endure the insults, pain and suffering. As I deserve it because I'm just a lowly person who does not deserve love. But if there is a step to make my friends and dear ones happy, then I will take it, even it will cost my life. Office, you are my friend too, so I will be protecting you as I swear upon myself. Issei said with a smile. He wiped some of the tears, but it's still running down his cheeks. It was then, the dragons heard sobbings outside of the room. Issei then looked at the door to see it opened. It was his friends. The orc group. Crying with tears running down their cheeks, and they keep wiping them off. Zenobia and Irina were hugging while crying. Gasper was sobbing. Kiba was leaning at the wall but facing it as he closed his eyes with his arms, crying. Asia was sitting on the floor crying heavily while Akeno trying to calm her. Rias was crying as well. Kaneko was letting her tears out and let it run down her cheeks. She was looking right at Issei, who had a blood tear on his left cheek. Her eyes were covered by her bangs. "You guys. Why are you crying? Are you hurt?" Issei asked, trying to cover with going back to his normal personality, and walked to the door, only to be pushed back to the bed by Kaneko. Issei was surprised by the sudden attack. Issei was now leaning back at the headboard of the bed. Kaneko was on him. "Oh, Kaneko-chan. What are you doing?" Issei was blocked from completing his sentence when Kaneko suddenly kissed him deeply. Issei was shocked, so he didn't return the kiss to her. Kaneko was discovering all parts of his mouth with her tongue erotically. Issei could feel the hot tears that was flowing on Kaneko's cheek. When the kiss departed, there was a thread of saliva between their lips. Meanwhile, the others have walked in while Kiba and Gasper was giving space to the girls. Kaneko then spoke out while her head rested on Issei's chest. "I'm sorry, Issei-senpai. For ignoring your feelings," Kaneko said while sobbing. "Kaneko-chan, you guys heard all of it from the beginning. Senpai Issei-san." Issei then turned his head to Asia, then he was kissed by Asia on the lips, but this time gently. Issei wasn't returning the kiss as he was shocked by the sudden attack by the girls. When the kiss departed, Asia grabbed Issei's hands and placed it on her chest. She opened her mouth while still crying. "Issei-san, I'm sorry for making you cry that bad. Issei-san, please forgive us," Asia said with a choke, meaning she was crying. Issei was still surprised of the condition. Then he was being clinged by Zenobia and Irina. Zenobia Irina. Issei was still leaning to the headboard. "How? Ice-kun. 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 Ice-kun." Irina cried out while she was hugging Issei from his left. "I don't know that the man that I chose would stay this strong," Zenobia said while her tears are just flowing from her eyes, hugging Issei from his right, and slowly her head went under his neck. "Ice-kun," it was Akeno. Zenobia then moved away from Issei to give Akeno her time after giving him a peck to his cheek. Akeno then hugged Issei tightly in a flash of light, then she opened her mouth. "Please don't ever leave me, Ice-kun. I am sorry for ignoring your feelings all this time. I don't want to live in a world without you, so please forgive me, Ice-kun," sniff Akeno said while she keeps crying and her head leaning on Issei's shoulder. "Akeno-san," Issei said. He then moved away from the headboard as he noticed Rias behind Akeno. He then stood up after moved Kaneko away, only to be attacked by Rias. "Ice." Rias then hugged Issei tightly, making Issei realized something. The girls were just taking turns hugging him. I'm a horrible person, am I, but why?" Issei said as he pushed Rias slowly from the hug. Rias then led him to sit on the bed while the girls are beside him. Rias knelt in front of him, grabbing on his right hand. I am so sorry for letting you be in such pain, Ice. We don't know that Rainer is still torturing you until this day. We didn't mend your heart, but instead breaking it more. We're so sorry for letting you suffer just for our sake. So please, have courage and forgive us for being so selfish," Ice Rias said while wiping his left eye. Unknown to Issei, his eyes were forming fear in it. "This tears of blood were said to only have by kind-hearted dragons. You are one of them," Ice Rias said while her face was leaning closer to Issei's, preparing to kiss until. "No. Not with a loser like me. But you guys," Issei said with another tear of blood forming on his right eye and continues flowing. "Please, Senpai, we all love you," Kaneko said at the left side of Issei. Irina was next to her on the bed. "Lies," Issei said with his eyes were in fear, looking at Kaneko. "That's right, Ice, I'm sorry for making you suffer because my way to prove my love to you was wrong," Zenobia said. She was on the right of Issei on the bed with Asia and Akeno next to her. "This lies. Isan, please. Please see that I loved you not as an Ani-sama, but as a man," Asia said with a hint of sadness in her voice. Issei then remembered a flash of Rainer. "Ice-kun. Please save me. This devil is trying to kill me. I love you. I love you so much. That's why, let's defeat this devil together. This is all lies," Issei thought as he wanted to tear up until. "This is not lies, Ice-kun." Issei was snapped out of his thought when Akeno suddenly spoke up. Akeno then hugged Issei from the back while her arms wrapped Issei's neck. "Please believe that. This is not lies, Ice-kun. We truly loved you, you have done more for us than anyone would do. You are selfless, kind, brave and caring. You sacrificed a lot for us and you protected us from harm. You helped us to find hope and encourage us to get over our fears. You, the one who have suffered countless times, is our light and love. Please Ice-kun, please. Please believe that deep in your heart that we love you deep from our souls. Now and forever. Akeno said, then she was crying heavily while hugging onto Issei. Issei was shocked and still processing his mind on what Akeno said. Kaneko then hugged Issei from the side. Senpai. We are not like Rainer, Kaneko said. No longer crying, but there are tears in her eyes. Issei's eyes widened as he heard what Kaneko said. Oh Kaneko-chan. Issei looked at Kaneko. No longer with his frightened eyes. Ice-kun, what happened between you and your ex-girlfriend will not happen again. Irina said, then she hugged onto Issei. I'm sorry for saying horrible things to you, Ice-kun. I wish I known better about your trauma. Irina said as she started to cry slowly. The girls then started to hug onto Issei. Kiba and Gasper approached as well, then hugged Issei. They were all crying again as they tried to regain Issei's belief and courage. Issei slowly realized that the girls truly loved him. He then started to cry as well, but this time, there were no blood. He then spoke up with a small smile on his face. But you? No, Riaz. Issei said blushily. Why yes. Riaz responded, flabbergasted. I'm sorry for not participating in the raiding game before. I was a terrible servant for abandoning my duty as a pawn. No, not at all, Ice, it was my fault too to got you heartbroken. I want to make it up for you and all of you girls, Issei said. The hug departed after Issei said so. I want to confess to you girls. That Issei said and lowered his head with a smile on his face. The girls plus Kiba and Gasper were waiting his answer. I love you, Riaz, Akeno, Kaneko, Asia, Zenobia, Irina. I loved you all deep inside my heart. I want to thank you for giving me the second chance in life, for proving that I am worthy of being loved once more. Issei couldn't complete his sentences as he was crying happily. The girls were blushing happily after the confession that Issei declared. Plus, he called them by their names casually. We love you too, Ice, the girls said in unison, and they were also crying. They then hugged Issei tightly. They were sobbing. Kiba and Gasper also cried because they were moved. You guys. Please don't cry, I felt terrible for it, Issei said as he was healed by the girls. He felt like Rainer was slowly disappearing from his soul. He then looked at the door. There were Office, Azazel, Roswius and the volley team. Azazel put on a smile and gave him a thumbs up. Roswia smiled while placing her hand on her forehead and shook her head, seeing the high school students doing such thing is a no-no to her. Volley just smirked and left the place along with Biku and Arthur. LeFay was there, crying because she was moved by their friendship. Kuroka just stood there with a smile. Office gave a small smile to Issei while she was listening to the iPod. Kukuku. The hug went on for a couple of minutes. Issei and the girls were having their time cuddling as they were reunited from all the dilemmas between them. Riaz then spoke up. I love you, Ice. Riaz then kissed Issei on the lips gently, which Issei returned it. It went for 5 seconds, then they departed. I love you too, Riaz. You don't mind me calling you like that, right? No. Not at all, my Ice. Riaz said as she buried her head on Issei's chest. I want Ice-kun to call me casually as well. Akeno said, back in her usual smiley face. I want Senpai to call me like that too, Kaneko said stoically. You guys. Issei said with a small smile. He then noticed Kiba and Gasper who hadn't say anything yet. He put on a smile and stood up. The both then approached Issei. Ice-kun. Kiba said with a bit choke in his voice. He then hugged Issei, who accepted with spread arms. When I said that I understand what the girls are going through, I am a horrible friend, right, Ice-kun? Kiba continued to cry as he was burying his head on Issei's shoulder. Ido. Don't be such a crybaby, Kiba, all what matters now is everything is solved. Issei said as he patted Kiba's back. You helped me once when I was filled with hatred and vengeance, but you freed me from those pointless aims. Until now. I don't know how to repay you, Kiba said after the hug departed. Issei then pats Kiba's shoulder. It's okay, Kiba. I don't need you to repay me after all, what are friends for? Issei said with a smile. Kiba then wiped off his tear and nods at Issei. Issei was then attacked by Gasper. Senpai. Please forgive me for saying bad things to you that day. Gasper said while burying his head to Issei's belly. Issei just made a bitter smile at Gasper meanwhile with Office and Azazel. Office put her right palm up, then, a purple-like aura that was shaped like a fallen angel appeared. Azazel just looked at Office who had a purple aura on her palm. This was inside him. Office said before gripping her palm and then the aura disappeared. Azazel nods. We shall start observing him from now on. Azazel said seriously. He then continued. Office, are you serious about what you told me and Volley? Azazel said and turned his head to Office. I have left Cow's brigade long ago. Issei is now my friend. Office said stoically. Azazel nods. He then put on his annoying smile and walked into the group who was having their time. It's okay, Gasper, just please stop crying over me, will ya? Issei said while he pat Gasper's head. It was then he turned his head to Azazel. Ah, young love, I've always missed being young. Azazel said, then he turned his head to Issei, who was staring at him. Issei then gave Azazel the look that meant something in it. You planned this whole thing from the start, right? Issei said with his eyes narrowed. No, I did not. Azazel gave Issei the annoying look. He then spoke up. Well, now that you guys are united, why don't you go to the party? It is still early for the party to end. Azazel said. Sure, why not? Let's go to the party, guys. Issei said to the group. Which all of them nods. I want to go too. Afa said. Suddenly appearing beside Issei. Issei was expecting a shock from the group, but he was surprised that they were not shocked. Wait, you guys are not surprised seeing Office here? Issei asked. Not at all, Azazel sensei told us earlier when we arrived. Ani-sama and Michael-sama will be really busy, so the secret is safe until now. In fact, we were surprised that you and Office grow a really good friendship. Ria said with a hint of astonishment. I see, Issei said. Plus, we heard that Ice-kun sang well at the party just now. Mau. I never knew that Ice-kun made a good singer since we were childhood friends. Irina said while showing a video of Issei singing the song, Angels Fall with her smartphone. So you guys found out how I'm actually feeling embarrassed right now. Issei said while he was rubbing the back of his head. Ara, why don't you sing for us at the party, Ice-kun? I want to see my adorable lover sing. Akeno said while she hugged Issei's arm. I want to see Issei-san sing as well, it would be fantastic, right, Zenobia? Asia said while clasping both of her hands. Zenobia nods. Let's see I sing at the party later, I can't wait to see our future husband perform on the stage. Ria said while crossing her arms. Well, it won't be a problem, so. It's okay, yeah, I will perform. Issei said. The girls just cheered happily. Issei just made a smile. Well then, let's go to the party, the volley team are there too, so don't intend to kill them, okay? Azazel said. The group just nods in unison. Azazel then put on a funny grin, and he spoke. Before we go, Riaz. Did you notice that Issei isn't staring at your boobs anymore? Azazel said while he tried to hold in his laughter as he knows well the reactions of the girls soon. Azazel sensei, you bastard. Issei yelled in his mind. Wait, then, it could only mean one thing. Ria said, then all of the group members turns their head to Issei. Issei could only sigh. Oh crap, he thought as he closed his ears. WHATTT. Line break. The orc group were now in the ballroom along with Azazel, Ravel Office and the volley team. The volley team and the orc group were in separate tables. They were enjoying the performance of a group of dancers on the stage, meanwhile waiting for Issei's turn. The group were having their meals as they enjoyed the performance. It was then, Issei noticed that Kaneko, who was sitting on Issei's lap as usual, was feeling anxious. He then spoke up. Kaneko, what's wrong? Are you feeling well? Issei asked. Senpai. It was just. Wani-sama is here, Kaneko said as she looked at Kuroka, who was noticed Kaneko and then waved at her. Issei made a small smile. Kuroka and I talked this evening. About what? You shouldn't hate your sister that much, I know that you went through a lot of pain because of her, but she was just protecting you so you won't go berserk on your powers. I talked to her that she can train you so you could handle your senjutsu powers better if you don't mind. Issei said. I don't mind if senpai say so. Kaneko said with a smile on her face. If Kuroka ever does anything funny or lecherous to you, let me know, I'll make her sorry, okay? Issei said with a hint of joking in it. Kaneko blushed and smiled, happy that her boyfriend is protecting her dearly. Ara, looks like Kaneko-chan and Ice-kun are having their kinky yum-yum time. Yufufufufu. It was Akeno who said, which made Issei and Kaneko blushed madly with their face red as tomato. Akeno. Don't say it so erotically. And what do you mean by kinky yum-yum? Issei said while his face was still blushing madly. I also want to be protected by Ice-kun as well. Yufufufu, Akeno said. Issei then spoke up. Akeno. Where father right now? Issei asked. Yufufufu. He is on a mission right now, but why the sudden question? Missing your father-in-law, Ice-kun. Akeno said in a teasing tone. Haha, it's just, isn't it important for you to meet your father? Since you are already reunited with him. Issei said. Akeno then spoke. Thank you, Ice-kun. Thank you for caring me that much, I am thankful for being able to meet you that day. I don't know what will happen to me if I'd stayed hating myself as a fallen angel. Thank you so much. Ice-kun, Akeno said with her left eye forming a tear. You're welcome. Akeno. Issei smiled. It was then, he was approached by Azazel. Let's go, playboy, your turn is next. Azazel said with a huge grin. Issei nods and told Kaneko to get off. Well, I'm next, guys. I'll get going. Issei said. His attire still consists in a black leather jacket. Alright, Ice. we'll be cheering you from here. Ria said loudly. Do your best. Issei-san. Issei-sama. Asia and Ravel cheered. Go for it. Ice-kun. Zenobia said out loud. I will. Issei said loudly. The volley team and office also gave him cheers as he walked to the backstage, preparing for his performance. As the dancer's performance ended with a loud applause, Azazel, who was the host, appeared from the backstage. He had a card that he held that looks like what TV program hosts use, obviously. He then spoke out. Amazing performance by the dancers a while ago. Now, we move on to the next performance, which you people will be surprised. Please welcome ShineiHyoudou. The crowd then went wild at the mention of Issei. Again. The orc group volley team cheered loudly as they welcomed their comrade's performance. Issei appeared from the backstage. The stage was illuminating with the color blue while there were mist on the stage. Issei then went down from the stage as he continued to sing with a wireless microphone. The crowd clapped and cheered loudly as he went to the place where the orc group is. The girls were excited to see Issei suddenly came down from the stage. All this time spent in vain, wasted years, wasted gain. All is lost, hope remains, and this war's not over. There's a light, there's the sun, taking all shattered ones. To the place we belong, and his love will conquer. Issei then just walked to the volley team, and he high-fived them all, which the team pleasantly did, so did LeFay. He then walked to the orc group to give them a high five too. When Issei passed Kaneko, he pinched her cheek softly, which she blushed with annoyance, and patted Office's head softly. Irina was waving to Issei to look at her camera, which Issei did. Issei then walked back to the stage as he continued to sing. As the song ended, Issei only said thank you to the crowd and left the stage. The crowd clapped endlessly as Issei gave them a really good performance. As Issei left the backstage to the orc group, Drake suddenly woke up. How are you feeling, partner? I finally sense some positive emotions from you. Drake said happily. Drake, you and Azazel planned this right. Heh, you finally managed to connect some brain cells in your head. Well, Fafnir sent me a private message through Azazel's jewel that day where you were in the hospital, so that is how the whole thing was planned. You sneaky lizard. Issei chuckled. How's it feels like? To finally confess to them, partner. It feels great, Drake. When the girls comforted me, I felt like Rainer is slowly disappearing. Issei thought. He then continued as he saw his friends waving at him. I'm really thankful for meeting. They gave me a second chance in life to prove that I am worthy to be loved. That's good, partner. It is surely good that you came to know that they really loved you. Drake ended as Issei looked at all of his friends one by one who was waving and welcoming him. There was Riaz, Akeno, Kaneko, Asia, Zenobia, Irina, Kiba, Gasper, Ravel, Office and the volley team that includes Volley, Biku, Arthur, LeFay, and Kuroka. He was thankful to able to meet these people as he went through happy and rough times with them. He really wants to spend the rest of his life with every people who he cherished. Issei was the kind of guy who will protect those that he cares for. By the way, Devil class promotion test will be held 2 days again, right? That's it, guys. That was the whole story. Hopefully you liked it. With that, take care.